I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Paranormal Odyssey Live. Let's let Lisa get her camera turned on here. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Wayne.
All right, guys. As you can remember, I'm sure you remember. Last week, Brian jumped on and talked about our new producer that's going to be starting with us this week, and that was Lisa. Lisa was supposed to start last week, but had an unexpected surprise from the hubby come up and was treated to a weekend away. So this is your first episode with us, Lisa. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Glad that you could. I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to join the Paranormal World Productions team. I appreciate it. You want to tell everybody a little bit about you, your background, and everything?
My background is primarily in law enforcement. I was in law enforcement for almost 13 years. And then broke my leg in a training accident and fell headfirst into the film industry. And I work on films and television shows and produce, and have had a secret Bigfoot habit for a very long time. And when this opportunity came up, I jumped on it. But primarily, I've worked in film and television for a while.
What are some shows that people might have seen your?
Snapped, Fatal Attraction, Nashville, the last season of the TV show Nashville, season 3 of True Detective,
Wow.
plus one at an Amish wedding on the Hallmark Channel, Saved by Grace.
Some stuff that people have actually seen.
Yeah,
right?
Saved by Grace series 1, which is on PureFlix. Getting ready to film season 2 this summer. Really excited about that. Just finished a movie called Another Country Song with Meryl Hemingway and Justin Gaston and John Laughlin, Chris Michaels, and finished a movie in the summer called Hellfire of Harvey Keitel, Stephen Lang, and Dolph Lundgren.
Very cool. Very cool. You are in Arkansas, correct, ma'am?
Yes.
All right. And as you said, you got an interest in the cryptid, but you've never had an encounter?
I've never seen one.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. I had a very dear friend of mine have an encounter. It walked across the road while she was picking her son up from a camp out. And then I was riding my horse one day, and I think one paralleled me through the woods. My horse started going crazy. My dog started going crazy. And it wasn't a bear, because I've ridden up on a bear before. And It was a whole different type of activity with my horse and my dog.
All right. Well, again, let me thank you for joining up with us. Look forward to doing some cool stuff with you.
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's go ahead and get this going. Want to ask everyone, if you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. If you have had an encounter with anything weird and would like to come on and share it on an episode with us, I would appreciate that. Shoot me an email to Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com. All right, we have Nick and Jay from the On the Trail YouTube channel joining us tonight. The guys are ready for any questions that you might have. So if you have any questions that you want to send their way, please do that in caps. Lisa will be watching out for any kind of questions for you guys. But just to make it a little bit easier on her, put those all in caps if you don't mind. All right, I want to ask everyone to please check out our website as well, paranormalworldproductions.com. You can get you some merch for this show, Paranormal Odyssey, for Sasquatch Odyssey, and for True Crime Odyssey. And you can become a member of the different Patreon platforms that we have and just support the shows in any way that you can. We certainly would appreciate that. Also, last thing I'll talk about, still pushing the Manimal Research on Facebook. That is my Bigfoot organization. Got an event coming up pretty soon, actually, that we're excited about. So if you are not a member and you would be interested in that, head over to Manimal Research on Facebook and join the group. I would appreciate it. All right, got all of that out of the way. Flat Rock, what's up, buddy? Glad you could stop in. Not a lot in here thus far, so people will be filtering in and out. So, yeah, Flat Rock is a buddy of mine. Thanks for hanging out, buddy. Also, there's a Facebook user there. I'm sorry I can't see your name, but got 3 hearts up there, and I appreciate that. But yeah, if you don't mind, put your name out there. All right, as I was saying, we got Nick and Jerimiah joining us tonight. They make up the YouTube channel On the Trail. I was a guest on their show a few weeks ago, and I told them they had to return the favor and come on with us. So they are here to do so. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. Jerimiah, Nick, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, Wayne, hey, Lisa.
Hey,
Wayne, nice
guys.
to see you again. Lisa, how are you there?
Hey, y'all.
All right, guys, thank you so very much for taking the time to hang out with this. We will go from left to right. We'll start with Nick. Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what got you started in this crazy world of cryptids, and after you're done, we'll let Jerimiah have a go at it.
Well, my background basically is paramilitary, also law enforcement. I'm a Fortean researcher, cryptozoologist. I started out in the paranormal when I was very young. My mom kind of got me into that. She got me interested. And I was a voracious reader at all times, always going to the library and bookstores, trying to get anything I could on the paranormal. Paranormal I did for a bunch of years until just as today, I try to prove things to be real or not real. And it kind of disappointed me. So one day I was thumbing through some books at a used bookstore, came upon a book on the Yeti, another book on the Sasquatch over here in the United States, another book on the Loch Ness Monster, and everything took off from there. I just got into cryptozoology, big time from back then. I didn't even know, presently I'm the Region 3 and 5 director of the North American DogMan project, Region 3 and Region 5. And I didn't get into DogMan until 2013, because that's when I actually had an encounter. There's 2 things you'll have out there with a cryptid: a sighting and an encounter. I had an encounter at that time, and I didn't even know what it was. To me, it just looked like a a werewolf on steroids who should be playing in the NBA because this thing was gigantic, totally enormous. So, being in cryptozoology already, I went and I looked and looked and looked, and I'll tell you, it took me about 6 months before I found anything to describe what I saw on that wonderful night when I saw DogMan in the state of New Jersey, no less. So that's all she wrote from there. I mean, it's just taken off from there, and I run a bunch of different groups. I even run the International Dogman Project, which is based out of Finland. We take care of all our members, out in Australia and Europe and even China, Pakistan, South Africa, you name it. They're all out there.
All right. So, yeah, that's something I do want to touch on is international sightings of Dogman. I know that there are sites of Bigfoot all over the world. I wasn't aware that Dogman was getting the same thing. So, yeah, we'll touch on that. But before we do, Jeremiah, your turn, brother. You and I have been buddies for a while.
Yeah, we have. It's
this
been a
is-
pleasure, man.
Yeah, this is your second time coming on with me.
Yeah. Came on, I think about 2 years ago now. We've known each other probably 3-4 years now, I think.
Yeah. So just anyone that doesn't know much about you, go ahead and fill them in.
Yeah, no problem. Come from a logging family up in the Adirondacks in upstate New York. Always been interested in the paranormal, cryptozoology, UFOs. I was always a little weird kid, one of those little weird kids. As Nick said, how his mother kind of introduced him. Well, my mother bought me a book when I was about 7 years old, Unexplained Mysteries of the 21st Century. So I'm flipping through the book, and I get to a picture of a beautiful little lady named Patty. And, when I caught Patty's eye, I was hooked, and I come from Native American descent as well. So, and my grandfather being a logger, I used to hear stories from them about these things. And I live on a 250 acre piece of our logging land. And we actually, part of the year, we have a Sasquatch group that lives on the property. Right now, I'm getting, from what I can estimate from tracks and so on and so forth, anywhere from 6 to 8 members. I've had a few encounters, like Nick said, an encounter and a sighting is different. I've had sightings and encounters, not only Bigfoot, but also Dogman. I've been in the Dogman field about as long as about 6 months before I met Nick. When I met Nick, he kind of caught me up real fast. What better guy to catch me up on Dogman than Nick? He's the best. And that's about it. I'm a survivalist. I like to hunt, fish. I love the outdoors, and I don't do this for fame. I do it because I believe as a researcher, if you're interested in this field and you want to educate other people, that should be your purpose. Educate other people, look for answers, try to solve this puzzle we're all trying to solve so bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, definitely. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your show, On the Trail.
Yeah,
where you can find it, what you guys talk about.
Yeah, Nick and I, we run a show called On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. And we not only cover Sasquatch and Dogman, but Nick, pretty much everything, right? If we can get the right witness, we touch on everything, kind of like you do in this show, We have YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Paranormal Encrypted Crossroads. And then, I have my group On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. And, Nick, he has, like he was telling you about his Dogman groups. And, we really, I think we worked great together. Things are starting to really roll for 2023. And looking forward to, escalating in the future.
All right, Nick, you got anything to add to the show?
Yeah, just what Jay said. We don't do this to make money, not at all.
No.
My mantra has always been to prove or to disprove.
No.
And this past weekend, last Wednesday, not this past Wednesday, but 2 Wednesdays ago, up until Sunday, I went to North Carolina where I had, as it turns out, 9 different people reporting a dogman sighting in Washington County near Phelps Lake. I took a full-blown team out there, and I'll tell you, the logistics and the cost to take a team, from New Jersey all the way to North Carolina is really hard. And we did go out there. We were out there at night. We were out there in the daytime. And once again, I'm out there to prove or disprove, not to make money. I don't really care. I don't care about the fame. It's just all about the research. We found some tracks. We found some scat, and everything that I found led to me to believe that it was a bear, but I've never seen prints that were this big from a bear, a black bear. And we're talking North Carolina. They have black bear out there. And the amount of scat was 3 times that any I've ever seen on a black bear. I do a lot of field investigation. I'm out there in the field all the time. And we did finally meet up with this creature. It kind of found us at the same time we found it. And it turned out to be one of the largest black bears I've ever seen. My estimate was that it was about 6'5", and I estimate that it was about 700 pounds. Now, that's not the biggest black bear ever in North Carolina, but I mean, they've had one there that was 880 pounds.
Yeah.
So much bigger. But this bear in particular had a extra large snout. I mean, extra long, which led me to believe why people thought that this was a dogman. And he seemed to be interested in going up bipedally, on 2 legs all the time, because that's how we saw it. We heard him coming. We use the earphones like this here, and they magnify the sound. And at the same time, if you fire a gun, it's going to shut off the sound. But it magnifies sound and kind of puts us on par with the animals out there. And we heard something coming our way, and the sound would stop, and I guess he would pop up in the air, then he'd pop down, and he just kept right coming at us. He was about 20 feet away from us, behind a bush, when we all dropped to one knee, guns out, and we're waiting. And he pops his head up over this 6-foot-tall bush. And I measured it later. The bush is about 6 foot 1 inches tall. I had a ruler after he went away, and his head was above that. So I'm estimating he was 6'5", but he popped up over that. And at first I'm going, damn, that is a dogman. And then when he turned sideways, I could tell it was actually a bear. He growled, took 3 more steps at us, and 2 of my guys shot him with bear spray. And that was it. He went back down on all 4s, took off, and it sounded like a train going away from us.
Another good example of how easy it is to misidentify.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. How much in cryptozoology do people misidentify a known animal for a cryptid? Like we were talking before the show, that sound you were playing, I've heard that sound before, and it was from an owl. Like the Mothman in West Virginia. When I went down there, I felt that it was a sandhill crane that people have been seeing down there all these years, because of the fact that a sandhill crane can be 6 foot tall. The eyes go oval and they're red. And of course, being an animal, the eyes will glow, in the dark. And if you hit it with light, it's going to glow. And yeah, the wings has a very large wingspan. And something else people need to consider, the pattern where the birds go are from down Florida, straight up through West Virginia, all the way up towards Canada. That's their migration pattern. So, I mean, it could have been, way back when.
So is that what you're thinking Mothman could be, Nick?
That's my theory, that it could have been a sandhill crane.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, some people were saying, oh, it's an owl, because there's a particular type of owl that they have down there. But the owl that we're talking about, yeah, it has big red eyes when you hit it with a light, but it doesn't have that red around, and it's not as big as a sandhill crane. and it doesn't migrate like a sandhill crane does. Sandhill crane on its migration path goes into Chicago, and they've had a lot of Mothman sightings up in Chicago.
Yeah.
So, I followed it too. I've been in Chicago and on a couple of calls that we had up there that, we've got a Mothman. And we actually met the people there, and they showed us where the so-called Mothman was at. And you know what it turned out to be? It turned out to be a bunch of bats. Now, bats, when they fly, will fly together in a flock. All right. And these bats were flying around all together, and it looked like it was a larger animal at nighttime. So, like I said, I'm out there to prove or disprove.
Yeah.
And the day that I come out and say, yep, I got that DogMan or I got that Sasquatch, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you made mention of a sound that I played for you guys before we came on, and I'm actually going to play that in a little bit. A lot of the listeners that have followed me for a while, and there are a few out there that have been with me from the beginning, about 4 years now, know that one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had was this sound that was unidentified, this kind of cackling, laughing sound, and I found it on YouTube, and I want to share that with everyone. We'll get to that in a little bit, though. But Jeremiah, buddy, I want you to share some of your experiences. I refresh my memory. Have you had a sighting of the big guys?
Oh yeah. I had my first sighting in 2000. It was with the I'll try not to draw it out because we're probably on a time limit, but it was a juvenile. It was muzzleloader season, and I was on my way back to my truck, and this is before, like I said, back in 2000, way before I was living down there. I got to an old skidder the old man had parked down there, and I look and I see a head that had wrapped its head around the skidder, and I saw big amber eyes, and I'm thinking to myself, what's going on? What is this? I got a little bit closer, and something was telling me something's not right. You know the feeling, Wayne. Something's not right. At this point, it had gone back behind the skidder, but then when I got to the front of the skidder, it had wrapped its left arm around and popped its head back out again. And this time, I could see a hand, and it leaps behind the skidder again. And then, but there's these two logs laying horizontal towards me like this, and they were probably 15 feet apart. The first one was 15 feet from the front of the skidder. This thing leaped out from behind the skidder, hit that log, didn't even crouch to take a jump, didn't swing its arms or anything. It propelled itself off the top of its foot. Okay. Imagine how much athleticism that takes. I mean, I had never seen anything like it. As soon as it hit that log, like I said, propelled itself, hit that second log, propelled itself to a standing tree that was about another 15 feet away, hopped behind the tree real quick. At this point, I wanted to get, a second look. And it came right out. And as it's standing there, it's got the classic Sasquatch wave, and it's staring at me. And my first thought was, did someone's orangutan get loose or something, in a way I knew what I was looking at because I knew they were down there. But at the same time, my mind was just somewhere else, So the next thing I did, I probably shouldn't have done. I didn't know any better at the time. I had my headlamp fully illuminated, and I pulled the muzzleloader up on it to get a better look, because it was getting dark. It wasn't quite pitch black yet. But as soon as I raised that muzzleloader to take a look, covered up like this, hopped behind the tree, and I didn't see it again. It's almost like it disappeared into thin air.
Now, Jeremiah, you weren't out looking for Bigfoot, were you?
Negative. No, I was just sitting on my tree stand, seeing if I could harvest a buck.
That's something that you guys, I'm sure, will agree with. That it seems like when you're going out looking for these things, the chances of seeing them will go way, way down. It's always when you're not expecting it. Hunters,
exactly.
hikers.
Exactly.
And
the second encounter in 2007 was kind of the same deal. It was rifle season at this point. But I wasn't planning on sitting. but had my 300 Win Mag on me. I went down and fixed up my tree stand a little bit. Had my hammer, my tools, fixing up my tree stand. And again, something told me, something's not right. Can you get out of here? So I got out of the tree stand, and to walk back to my truck, I had to hit that logging road. But to get to the logging road, you got to go around a big natural artesian spring. So as I'm to the side of this spring, I look and I see a big tree standing about 4 feet off the bank of the shore. And I'm saying to myself, well, that's kind of weird. I didn't see a tree there before, And I'm like, what's going on here? Until that tree, she turned and looked at me and showed me her full frontal. And we made eye contact. I was only about 35, 40 feet away from her. She had breasts, I always tell people this, they didn't hang like patties. I don't know if it was because she hadn't bred yet. Maybe she was a little bit younger, but she was big for a female. The water came up to it's probably about a foot deep at where she was standing. The water came up to about 6 inches below her knees. And from that water point up, I saw about 7 feet, which made her put her 8 feet. That's a big female. It's a very big female. And she gave me a look. I always related to the movie Tombstone, because she looked at the barrel of my rifle, looked back at me, and gave me the look like, well, are you going to skin that smoke wagon or just stand there? So
it's probably daring you to take it off your shoulder.
What's that?
She's probably daring you to take it off your shoulder.
Wayne, and here's the thing. Even if I would have wanted to, and I'm like you, I'm not pro kill, unless I have to defend myself. Even if I wanted to, where I was in such shock, even if I wanted to get that rifle off my shoulder, even in that water, she would have gotten to me first.
Wow.
There's no doubt about it. But the look in her eyes was also telling me that if you don't give me any problems, I'm not going to give you any problems. So that was it. She took a leap off the shore, and I'm talking one leap, and she went 60-some feet in 3 leaps, because I know for a fact, because me and 4 buddies went back to the scene the next day, and we found the impressions in the ground where she had hit with her feet, and they were 23 feet apart. So it's 66 feet in 3 leaps.
Wow.
Which was just blew my mind. Unlike the juvenile, I didn't see that juvenile after it got behind that tree and took off. I'm guessing maybe he just laid down, or she just laid down, and that army lay,
Yeah, but Jay, we hear these encounters all the time about people coming across trackways and them just stopping.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what that juvenile did, but compared to that female, I could hear she was just running through trees, breaking limbs, knocking stuff over. It was unbelievable. Sounded like a hippopotamus on 2 legs. That's the only comparison I can make to it, Wayne.
Oh yeah,
you just put an image in my head, man.
I know.
All right,
Wayne, I'll tell you, just to comment on what Jay was saying. Neither he nor I would take a shot at a Dogman, a Mothman, a Sasquatch. We wouldn't do that.
No.
The only way, I go out with a team and we're fully armed. We're talking rifles, 10 millimeter pistols. We're out there to defend ourselves, but we're not out there to hunt. We're not out there to take a life. If something's going to attack us, well, yeah, we're going to do our best to, go back home. But no way. I saw something like that out there. I'm not taking a shot. Just like this past weekend when we were out there and we saw this giant bear, I told all the guys to stand down. 2 of our guys hit it with the bear spray, and that was all she wrote. It ran off. There's no reason to take a life.
Nick, you just brought up a really good point. I've always said that, exactly what Jay said about being no kill. I have no desire to kill a Bigfoot, but I've never really thought about a Dogman. As much nasty as you hear about Dogman,
yes.
You still feel the same way? You wouldn't put one down?
No, No, there's no reason to, not unless attacked.
Yeah, I guess.
Unless I'm attacked, I'm leaving that thing alone. You got to understand. I mean, all the research I've done on it and speaking to others about it over the years now, it's been 10 years since I've started with Dogman research. The thing is with a Dogman, and I think same thing with a Sasquatch, they'll hunt you down. You kill one of their own and they'll hunt you down. You're 1,000 miles away. They will get you, most likely come after you. There's been reports of that going way back to the early fur traders.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 1700s, this one fur trader in particular, he stole some jewels from an Indian burial ground, and Dogman protects the Indian burial grounds. Now, he didn't kill a Dogman, but he took the jewelry from the graves. Actually, it wasn't just one guy, it was 3 of them. This Dogman hunted them down and killed them one at a time. Wow. And it took several years, but the Dogman finally found him, and he was found slashed to death. No. So it's not something you want to mess with unless you have to.
That's a good point, Nick. Those of you, some of you may not know that my last podcast episode of Paranormal Odyssey that came out a few days ago, I had Al Santoriga from Bronxville Paranormal Society on, and he's a big Dogman guy up in New York. And he talked about on that episode about some following him home. He's confident that the encounter he had out there, just a Dogman creature followed him home, just kind of like to prove, hey, I know where you live, you know where I live, let's stop this.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So yeah, I see your point. That's really interesting.
If they want something, they go after it. I had a problem a couple of years back and I called Nick in a panic. I'm sure he remembers. When the Sasquatch around here, they leave in November, and they're usually back by April or May. Now you hear of Sasquatch and Dogman playing nice together in other parts of the country, but I haven't seen it up here.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't play nice together. No.
They kind of avoid each other, right?
Yeah, I know up here they do.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in when Sasquatch are gone. And I was having them come. They were coming to my window. I had a black one coming to my window. He came to my window 3-4 times, and finally I said, I'm not going to deal with this. And I called Nick, and Nick, you asked me if I had a laser. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And also I said, yeah, I got one of my, my AR. He said, I tell you what, he's like, it might go one of 2 ways, but I would put that laser right on him because it'll hurt him, irritate him. And I said, oh, okay. Next time he comes to the window, that's what it's going to be. And he came to the window that 3rd night, and I put that laser right between his eyes, and he let out a grunt, and he took off the other way.
I did a show with Dark Waters. He's a well-known podcaster, and he called it Dogman Defensive 101. And he asked me all about, what do you do if you do have a Dogman problem out there? And there's a lot of things you can do, to discourage them from coming to your house. A lot of people have had that problem over the years, and we went through all the different stuff. And as I was telling Jay, the laser's one of them. You put big bright lights up on your house. Yep. That'll go off and stay on for about a minute at least. You've got cayenne pepper that you could spread all over your windowsills along your property and everything. That's something we use a lot when we're out there. As I was telling Lisa, we were out in Arkansas, and we also had a team out in Oklahoma, going back a year or so, and the people there had a problem with Dogman, and we spread canisters of cayenne pepper all over the place, and they actually never came back. They never had that problem again.
Wow.
Yeah, Jay bringing up the possibility of Sasquatch and Dogman coexisting actually brings up a good segue into a different topic. When I was on you guys' show a few weeks ago, we got into the topic of the LBL, Land Between the Lake, pretty heavy on that episode. So let's pick back up there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Talking about putting together maybe a joint expedition up there sometime in the this summer, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. Nick, it seems like you have a little more experience in the LBL. Tell the listeners about that area, just a general feel and what you expect when you go up there.
Well, I was there with D.A. Roberts. He's the Region 2 director of the NADP. He's also a well-known author. I met up with him early last year, actually August of 2021.
Let me interrupt you real quick, Nick. DA is actually my guest next week.
Aha.
Oh, cool.
Good.
Good guy.
Excellent. But anyway, I met him over there. We had a few more people that were supposed to come with us, but things happened at that time. And we went there mostly at nighttime, but we did go during the day so we could take some photographs of the things we were looking at. I took some pictures at night also, but the minute we hit the park at nighttime, we felt, the canopy overhead, the foliage, that's what I mean by the canopy. Canopy is closed out and it's extremely dark. Your cell phone service doesn't work. It just feels so uninviting. You could just get that feeling that whole area just doesn't want you there.
Yeah.
And when we were there walking around at nighttime, we heard no sounds of nature, none whatsoever. Even when we stayed still for like 10 minutes solid, no sounds of nature came back on. And I'm talking about LBL in Kentucky, in that area, not LBL in Tennessee now. When we were there, we were at the Nickel Cemetery, and off to our 1 o'clock, we actually saw some movement approximately 7 feet off the ground. And I tried to hit it with the spotlight and we got mobbed by bugs. Moved the spotlight around, after shutting it off and spraying ourselves with bug spray, we came back and we heard whatever it was at our 1 o'clock zip over to our 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock area from the way, the position we were facing. Whatever this was, it it could run like super fast because it went from our 1 o'clock to our like 10 o'clock in like 4 seconds. And I'm talking about 120 feet. Boom. It was over there. And on our way out of the park on the final day that we were there, out of my peripheral vision, I see something large and black by a tree and tall, and DA is looking right at it. And I guess he was grateful and shocked at the same time to have seen something. And he's telling me, stop. I hit the brakes. I back up a little bit. We both exit the vehicle. And then we look at each other saying, wait a minute. What are we doing out here? If that's a DogMan like we think it is, we don't have any firearms. We have nothing. What are we going to do? Go up to it and say, hey, let's take a selfie? Whatever the heck that thing was, it was large, really large. And when I backed the vehicle up, it had taken off downhill because it was at the side of the road. And at that point, the leaves were about, I would say 12 to 18 inches deep because they don't pick up leaves in the forest area over there. And once again, when we're talking about LBL in Kentucky, whatever it was, it took off downwards in a downward slope. And DA and I were never going to, what were we going to accomplish by going after it anyway? I left my camera in the car. We left any defensive items we had in the car. Besides a couple of knives we had on us, big deal. But we got out and we actually had a sighting, which was really good. But to get back to LBL, it just feels so claustrophobic when you're over there and sort of in a passive, threatening way. It doesn't want you there at nighttime. And to talk about LBL, the land between the lakes, you have the Kentucky side, which I believe is mostly DogMan, and the Tennessee side, which I believe is more Sasquatch, Bigfoot. And I don't think they play well together at all. because they tend to avoid each other. All reports I've ever had, when they do come in contact, it's a battle.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to see each other. So
that was going to be my next question, Nick. Like, where do the Dogman and the Bigfoot, respectively, where do they hang out in the LBL? And you said that the Dogman tend to hang out more north, Bigfoot south.
Yes, I mean that's not to say that they don't. There's not an area that they overlap, but that's what I believe. In any case, I believe that they hang out in Tennessee. That's where Sasquatch is mostly. And just in doing my own 14 research, I found in the books I've read, people I've spoken to, even on the internet, there's a lot more Sasquatch sightings down here in the Kentucky area. Not to say that you don't have Dogman sightings down here, you do, but there are a lot more Sasquatch sightings.
Yeah, Central Florida Bigfoot there says, so want to go there. I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. We're actually putting together something now to go up.
Oh
there.
Yeah,
and
Wayne. We're probably going to have quite a few researchers there.
Yep.
Jay, myself, you, D.A. Roberts wants to go, so we're going to count him in. And
the Kentucky X-File guys, I've been talking to them, and they want to head up that way too. They're in Kentucky, so we'll just make a big party, man.
That'd be great.
Jay, when we go, you got to ride with me because that is one heck of a.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go by myself. I'll drive. No problem.
I'll meet you in Jersey, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
I want to go.
Hey, more the merrier.
We'll stop off in Arkansas and pick her up and make a U-turn.
There you go.
Hey, Nick, did you see this from Tiffany that I popped up? It said I heard something about getting sulfur and spreading it around your property will keep them away. Is there any truth to that?
It's a possibility, but the red cayenne pepper, it actually does work. I mean, the times we've used it, I used it in a case in upstate New York that I had to hand over to Jay. A lady had thought she had a Dogman problem. It turns out it was a giant Sasquatch problem. And I mean, one giant Sasquatch. I gave that to Jay. But what we did do is we dumped over 3 coffee containers worth of red cayenne pepper around her property, on her windowsills, on near her doorstep, on her deck, in all her area. And she hasn't called back. And I told her to keep it up, that she needs to get some herself and spread it out there when it rains or snows.
Have y'all ever noticed that there is a sulfur smell where Bigfoot or Sasquatch is concerned? I've heard that before.
I've heard that myself, but not, I'd say maybe 20% of the time. So I'm not going to discount it, but I haven't heard it every time.
Okay.
Not at all.
Now, to the listeners out there, I promise this isn't a Dogman primarily show. It seems like it. We had Al on last week, had got you guys on tonight talking Dogman. Like I said earlier, we got D.A. Roberts next week, and I just got through interviewing Jody Cook and had some audio problems with him, so I got to finish his interview. So we got a nice little run of Dogman coming up over the next month or so, and that's awesome because that was one of my goals, was trying to learn more about this topic. But it seems like I've got some really good guys lined up to do that.
I'm with you on that, Wayne. We talked about this before, 6 years ago, I didn't buy in any of it, to be honest with you. I didn't believe in the Dogman stuff. Then, for a couple of years, I was finding evidence I didn't recognize that pertained to Sasquatch, different types of vocals, just sightings, just different types of weird things having to do with Dogmen. And then that's when I said to myself, I got to get more into this. And then shortly after, I met Nick, and like I said, he caught me up real fast.
Yeah, I'm going to at this point, I'm going to throw up a picture here that I shared last week. Miss Neoma Finn had her on a few weeks ago, and she made the statement that it's a known thing that there are 7 types of Dogman. I didn't know that. We have That's what I'm
Yep,
pulling.
there's your 7.
Yeah.
There you got it. That's a much better picture.
I wanted to ask Nick, what do you think about this? Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. The one I had a encounter with was the Canine Variant 3, 7 feet 7 inches tall, approximately, 650 pounds, very muscular. The one that people see most of the time are the Type 3 Variant 1 and the Canine Variant 1. Those are the two ones on the left.
Yeah.
One that's pretty rare is that Canine Variant 2, because that's like a hyena type dogman. A soldier dogman is the Canine Variant 4. We're talking about, once again, in the 7 foot, 7.5 foot area range, but much heavier, maybe in the 800-pound area.
Whew.
And then if you look up top right, that's the Type 3 Variant 3. That one there is sometimes confused with possibly a Sasquatch, meaning maybe a Gugway or a Genosquatch. Yeah. So we're kind of up in the air on that one. But because it's seen with claws, people want to throw that in there as one of the variants. So, I mean, those are the descriptions that people have put out over the over the decades and decades that they've been spotted. I got to tell you, back in the late 1700s, Wisconsin, Michigan loggers, those guys that would cut down the trees and log them up and everything, that's where it came out big time that there was a dogman up there in that area. So, I mean, we've had it reported since the late 1700s.
Wow.
Australia has a dogman down there also. I have a guy, John, who's a good friend of mine. He's an Aussie from down under over there. He sends me reports all the time. And another Facebook channel that I run is called the Quad Coalition of Science. And I post up his videos, of what he's seeing out there and his stories. He most recently got himself a quadcopter, one of those drones. And he got a really good camera in there so he can go deeper into the areas that he explores. He actually was in a canoe fishing when he saw a dogman enter the water and it started swimming towards him. And he was lucky that he got out of there because a dogman can swim.
That's a great question. I hadn't even considered, Nick. Do dogmans swim? So you saying that they do? There's been reports of people seeing a dogman swim.
Yeah, even in the United States, same thing. We had 2 young fellows. They were like 17. They were out fishing, and they said that they were glad that they had a motor on their boat. It was like maybe an 18-foot type of a boat, no cabin on it. Just like a rowboat type of thing, and they were out fishing. And they saw this wolf-like object coming at them. There was a head, and it saw arms coming out of the water, and it was coming at them. And these guys are like, "We're not staying here." They started up the outboard, and they took off, and that was it. They never went back to that area again. So yeah, I've read reports, and I've spoken to some people that have seen that. It's amazing. They also climb trees. Well, then again, it shouldn't be so amazing because black bear can climb trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't ever hear of a wolf climbing a tree.
No, not at all.
No.
That's one of the things I look at when I go to an area where they say that they've had dogman sightings, and they're telling me, well, it crossed the road from here to here, and that's the way it went. We went to where the Poconos, which is a resort area in Pennsylvania, north of the Poconos now, not in the Poconos, because I don't want to give the Poconos a bad name and have people get afraid to go there. North of the Poconos in Pennsylvania, I had so many calls over there in the last 2 years that we went up there twice. I took a team of 7 up twice. We took 2 6-wheel gators up there because the area tends to be very wet and just too much to walk through. You don't want to have to, have your boots mucked down in the mud. And on a couple occasions, we found where the claw marks in the trees went all the way up the tree. And now there's a difference between a black bear claw mark and a DogMan claw mark. And I've said this many times. A black bear's claw mark is going to be close together. A DogMan's claw mark is wide apart. And you can tell the difference. And we did find claw marks on the tree going up the tree area where the people had the sighting. And they saw a bipedal canine going across the road. And I had several people reported to us 2 different times, 2 different years. Once in 2020, late 2020, and then again in early 2021. So, I mean, we went up there twice looking for this thing. And we found tracks, we found claw marks, we didn't find it.
Yeah.
But that's how cryptozoology is. You know,
That's how it works.
That's how it works. I mean, you might get 1,000 reports and go out there 1,000 times, and 1,001 you might find what you're looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Jay.
Yeah.
DogMan aside, what have you been getting into as far as Bigfoot? You had any recent developments, encounters, sightings, anything?
Yeah, just they're like I said, they're gone right now. I don't know where they go. They disappear this time of year. We had a lot of action this summer, a lot of tracks, a lot of vocalizations, wood knocks. Didn't see anything this summer. We saw a figure. Stacy woke me up right before November, and she was twisting my back, trying to wake me up. And I'm like, knock it off. I didn't know what she was doing. And she gives it a real good twist. And I said, okay, I'm up. What? She goes, watch. And I didn't see anything. She said, something keeps popping out from behind the tree. And this is right out of our bedroom window. And I went back to sleep. I didn't see anything. And she twisted my back again. Said, there it is. And I didn't really get a glimpse of it the second time either, but I could see a flash hop back behind the tree. And I actually, right at the end of summer, I got a picture of one. It was, and I think I may have sent you this photo. It was the black one, about 100 yards from my bedroom window. I know Nick's seen it. You can see him standing there, and he's got his arms against the tree, and he's just looking at the cabin. Now and this is one I've known since he was a juvenile. But he's got to be 20-some years old, almost 20 years old now. But there's a branch going across his face, and that branch measures out at about 8 feet. So which would put him about 8'5". And as far as the last year, that's what we've had going on.
Yeah,
Jay,
He'll come up and slap the side of the house once in a while and knock on the windows. They're the ones on my property. They're, I tell people they're like it could be probably because they're used to us, but they don't give us any problems. They escorted me back to my truck one night because I think I interrupted a hunt. But besides that, they haven't given us any issues. Like I said, they'll bang on the side of the cabin once in a while, but I do have other sites I go to, that I research hard. Here in New York, Maine, North Carolina, where you can feel that tension in the air, where I've had boulders thrown at me and, logs thrown at me, and you can feel the tension. You can feel they don't want you there, but the ones here on our property don't give us any flack, or anything like that. I think it's used to us.
Jay, tell Wayne about the case I had to hand over to you from the lady. I mean, how tall was that one with the eye shine?
15
feet tall
15
from
feet.
the eye shine. And we're figuring it must have been in the area 28 to 3,000 pounds.
Yep.
28. I mean, can you imagine a creature 3,000 pounds, 15 feet tall? I mean, it's like we've had other Bigfoot researchers like in Alaska who have reported 15-foot tall Sasquatch out there. And here he has one, in upstate New York, that a call that I took originally, and I handed it over to him because it's like, I don't have 50 caliber rifles that I can go out there researching with or whatever. It's like,
And so, some of the stuff going on that property was crazy too.
Unbelievable.
I mean, trees twisted, trees ripped. I'm talking trees that big around. I mean, ripped out of the ground, turned upside down, jammed back inside the ground.
Into the ground, yeah.
And the roots tied into a knot. Now you tell me what kind of a human can do that?
Oh my God!
No human can do that. That is
crazy.
That is
That's
way
crazy.
in human strength that can do something like that.
It's way beyond human strength. Yeah.
See, most Bigfoot researchers are used to seeing those teepees that are built.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, a lot of researchers out there have seen those trees that are upended and then jammed back in.
You
know, it's when you see something like that, you're like, maybe I should take up chess or checkers,
right? Checkers or something like that.
Of being out here and coming across something that can do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna start bird watching instead, guys.
There you go, bird watching. Perfect substitute.
You do that with binoculars from the safety of your bedroom in that case, but
from a distance.
Can you imagine, Wayne? Can you imagine coming across something like that?
No, I've never heard of anything like that.
You're out there and you look up and you keep looking up, and it's 15 feet tall.
Yeah, that's unreal.
It's like you take out a Snickers bar and say, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Did you have something, Lisa, you wanted to add?
I had a question for Nick and Jeremiah about that. Do you think that those twisted trees are setting a boundary around that area? I mean,
it could mean different things, I think that the trees in particular are territorial marking. In the woods you'll see, you'll get the bends, the arches, which, by the way, I live in the Adirondacks. We get tons of snow. Yes, we do get trees that are bent over by snow. But when something's bent, jammed under another log, and then has something over the top of it to hold it there, in my opinion, something pulled that over.
Something like humans did that.
I think stuff like that is maybe, hey, the moose are this way. Trying to talk to another group, the moose are this way or the deer are this way. But I think stuff like you're mentioning, Lisa, the trees jammed in the ground, the roots tied in knots, I think I would almost stake my life on it that those are territorial markers.
I have to totally agree. And I mean, we're not talking one tree.
Right.
That's many. We're talking many trees, 6, 7, 10.
Yeah.
Now, come on. That's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
That's
no
not
sign
a
of
coincidence.
machinery. Yeah, there's no sign of any, any machinery that pulled them out. Nothing like that. It was just unbelievable.
I mean, there's a lot more information out there on the habits of Bigfoot, a la Sasquatch. Like the teepees. Why do they put those up? It could be they're saying, "Oh, all right, we were here and we're gone now." Because surely nobody is going to go in those teepees and figure you're going to get shelter.
Right.
Those trees upside down, to me, are an aggressive warning to any other thing that comes in the area. The tree knocks,
dominance or something like that, Nick.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the tree knocks that they put out there, the sounds that they put out, the throwing of large tree branches, and I don't mean little tree. I'm talking about 12 inches around, 8 feet, 10 feet long, and they're winging these things. And the boulders, I mean, come on, a human can't throw a boulder, and a bear can't pick up a boulder and throw it, even though they could be strong enough, but they're just not into that.
Right.
I had some massive boulders launched at me in North Carolina. I got there early and it was dusk, and I'm sitting by the bank of the river, and I was smoking a cigarette when I was still smoking cigarettes. And all of a sudden, the river was about 80 feet across. And all of a sudden, I look up in the air, and there's this boulder coming my way, and it hits right by my feet. And I swear, it was that big. It must have been 60 pounds. And it was thrown so hard, you could hear it hit the boulders on the bottom of the water, the bottom of the water floor. Then I get one thrown from behind me that comes over my head, hits in the same exact spot as the first one. And then I get one thrown from each direction, hitting the same spot. Now that right there is an aggressive I don't care what anyone says that, and it's an aggressive way of telling you to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all my time, my 4 or 5 years now of actively out researching the subject of Sasquatch, there's two things that people tend to experience the most that I have yet to experience. That is, I've never had a rock thrown at me or a lamb or anything, and I have yet to smell one.
Yeah.
The other stuff I've experienced, including a little bit of a sighting. I had a thermal sighting one night, but never had anything thrown or never smelt that smell. Nick, real quick, can you answer this one real quick? Then we probably need to work on
Go ahead.
getting here. Does Dogman have a smell like is attributed to Sasquatch?
You're reading my mind. I was going to tell you about that. Yes. A dogman generally smells of like a combination of blood and urine.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the smell that when I had an encounter, that's the smell I had that I could tell. And then several times when I've been out on field investigations, and everybody agreed with me as to what it was, and we didn't say, oh yeah, that smells like blood. No, everybody wrote it down. I said, nobody say anything. Write it down. We'll compare notes later. And to a man and woman, we had one lady there. Everybody said the same thing. Sasquatch, more so from what I've understand, smells more like poop.
Yes.
He smells really bad.
And I think that's
poop.
Yeah, and I think that's personally, my theory is I think that's a glandular thing.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah, I think they can let that go at will because I never smelt it. And I've had many, I've had sightings up close and personal encounters, and I have never caught that scent. Never.
Tiffany's asking that question right now, and you went ahead and answered your thoughts on it, Jay. I agree with you that I do think that it's something that they can control.
I do too.
Maybe a defense mechanism like a skunk has, perhaps.
Yep. I know other apes can. Well, I'm saying apes. I'm not saying they're an ape. I don't know what they are, but there's animals out there that can do that. That can release glands, a glandular smell at will. So
I just think it's poor hygiene because, to be honest with you, a 7.5 foot dog man with 3-inch claws, as muscular as it is, an 8, 9, 10 foot Sasquatch. I mean, come on, they're not. We're talking apex predator out there. We're not talking about anything that they're fearful of. Yeah. They may shoot that out there. Maybe I'm saying, as a warning to you to get lost. But otherwise, I don't think that they're out there fearful of anything.
Actually. I don't think it's a fear thing. I think it's like you said, Nick, to warn you. This is one of the types of warnings you're going to get. If this doesn't work, I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah. I agree with that.
As a mom of 2 boys that were teenagers at one time, I just think about that smell, that testosterone smell.
Yes.
Of like when boys are a locker room smell, but it's that testosterone smell. So I wonder if it is hormonal or if it's like scent glands. I know John Cunningham just said scent glands, but I always think about that smell, that teenage boy smell.
Yeah.
And they stink when they're teenagers. I'm sorry. They stink to high heaven.
I've got one now that reeks pretty good.
Yeah.
Works out.
What about female Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Right. Well, what about female Dogman?
Yeah.
It's all I've read, I'm not bragging, but I got a pretty poor life, or all I read is cryptozoology stuff, but I've read literally thousands of reports because I'm trying to accumulate all this information and putting it down in notebooks and everything. I kind of handwrite notebooks, and that's what I'm getting from everybody out there. What the different cryptid smells like, and this and that and the other thing, and it's like,
there's more questions than answers, Nick, and I'm afraid it's gonna stay that way, especially with this show anyway, because we're out of time.
Yeah.
Anytime we get one answer and 50 more questions pop up,
at least.
It's never ending, guys. Never ending.
It is.
All right, Jay, Nick, thank you guys so very much for coming on. Before we get out of here, tell everybody about your show, when it's on, where it's at, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we record, usually Nick and I record on Sunday evenings 99.9% of the time, and we release them the next day. They're pre-recorded. We have another show that's going to be starting this coming week. It's called the Bigfoot or the Skookum Session Cryptid Roundtable or Skookum Session Bigfoot Podcast Q&A, question and answer. So that will be starting again next week. Me, Nick, and a bunch of other guys do a little.
By a bunch, he means a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of researchers.
A lot of
How many,
researchers.
Jay, about how many? About 18, maybe?
No, there's 10 of us. But we get about, any given night, there's about 5 of us on the panel.
Yeah.
Because not everyone will show up,
There's a lot of guys in that picture, though, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you had to get everyone in the picture.
Oh, wow.
But that'll be starting next week, Wayne. That'll be something you can come on as a guest at some point.
Let me know when, buddy. I'll be there.
Absolutely. But you can
All right,
you can get a hold of the same, like as you were saying in the beginning, if you got anything. If you want to come on the show with Nick and I on OTT, just let one of us know, and we'd be more than happy to have you.
All right. Yeah, thanks, guys. And again, thank you both very much for taking the time on this Friday evening.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Nice meeting you, Lisa.
You too. Nice to meet y'all.
Lisa.
Have a good evening, guys. See you.
You too, Wayne.
All right. Couple of really good guys there. I've been buddies with Jay for a while now, and just now getting to know Nick, but it seems like a good dude as well.
Very interesting especially with the DogMan, because like I said, I'm more familiar, with the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch, but I think the DogMan, I mean, there's just so many, reports of it now that you have to lend credence to the people they're making those reports.
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth, Lisa. When I first started hearing about it, I thought it was a misidentified Bigfoot, as many of us do. But
me too.
The more you hear people that have seen these things talk, they're adamant that no, this isn't a Bigfoot that I saw. This was a dog on 2 feet.
And you hear it a lot with the Native American population, like with the shapeshifters. That's where I've read more about the sightings, or out west, and they attribute them to, the shapeshifters.
Yeah, I've given a lot of thought to the whole skinwalker thing.
Yeah, the skinwalker.
A combination or some kind of connection between them. All right, we are out of time. Lisa, thank you for hanging out. I'm sorry it wasn't a more eventful first episode for you, but for the ones that are still in here, Lisa is going to be more active in the future. We've got to figure out a way to give her the access that I have. She doesn't have that right now.
Yeah.
So
and thanks everybody for the the shout outs and all that, and hopefully next time we can get it going where I can interact more and get your questions going, further with Wayne.
Yeah, and Lisa will be there to look stuff up for us and do all that extra cool stuff and just take a whole lot off of me, and we are grateful to have Miss Lisa.
Well, I'm happy to be there. Y'all have a good night.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. As always, I ask everybody to be good to yourselves, be good to each other. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.